All right, welcome in. We're going to get started here momentarily. Just sharing this in a few places. If you're watching this in the future, if you want to fast forward just a minute, and we'll get going as soon as we get a couple people in here. Please stand by. All right. What's up, No Name? All right, welcome in. We're going to look at Bitcoin first while we get some more people in here. And we'll take some requests. You can feel free to type that in the chat whenever. We'll get to them as soon as we can. I'll stream till you stop being here, till we die down. Then we'll do another one at some point. But October 1st, so we've seen October historically. We'll see if that continues. Off to a good start. Bitcoin doing what it needs to do. We're at the daily spot now where this is the fail point. If the bears are actually here, they need to probably show up. Going all the way back to July. Pretty hard to argue with this as a pretty relevant spot. Swing lows here, support, resistance back in August, resistance in September. So far, still resistance in October. If we flip this and start to close above it, then that's the floodgates trying to open here. Okay, so we'll see if we can break through, or do we need a little bit more time? If we come down, right, here's this zone here. Here's our intermediate bull support zone, right? We don't want to be going back below this to maintain our bulls, right? So we have a low established, our initial high of resistance, a higher low, even though that's still kind of the relative same zone. And we need to make a new high. It doesn't have to be today, but sometime this week, it's probably going to need to make it to, continue to follow through with the bulls. So 117 is the level. And even if you don't hold Bitcoin, right, you want Bitcoin doing relatively well. If you want your altcoins, if you want your alt season, right, Bitcoin's going to have to flip this and probably going to have to hold this to support before we see some sustainable alt moves. So we're doing what we need to do, but this is a pretty quick move. I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of hesitate here for a few days and then break through. But if we break through earlier, today, tomorrow, that's got to hold. And then we're off to the races. All right, so now we got a little people in here. Oh, shout out to No Name for gifting memberships. You get absolutely nothing with that. I'm just kidding. You get some extra stuff. We'll see where I can get you. I appreciate the gifts there, No Name. Because it's Wednesday, why not? Blue flannels and overpriced sports cars, that's right. We're going to see our car today. I think I got one up. Look at that. Speaking of overpriced, maybe it's not, but 1992 Porsche race car for almost $250,000. That's up there. Probably pretty cool, though. All right. Back to crypto. Blue flannel and overpriced cars. You heard it in the chat, so we had to do it. Any requests yet? Nothing yet? I mean, we can go over Chainlink. I didn't make a link video today, so let's go to that. We said in yesterday's Chainlink video, we really needed to overcome the $22 spot, which seemingly is knocking on the door today. So that gets us out of the swing low here, above all moving averages, specifically the 21 EMA. And then we just start to get a little bit more bullish in the feels, right? But it's not all good news yet. We're still in a little bit of a bearish flag setup, but this starts to negate this flag, right? Bear flag. would have a lower target. As long as we don't kind of hold here as resistance and then break this low, as long as we don't go back below, I mean, really 20, 21, then we're good, right? If we can just kind of hold up here, 21 to 22 for a few days while Bitcoin decides what it's doing, then we can, proceed to higher prices. But it's too early to call that. We're still potentially in this kind of bearish setup continuation because we're in a downtrend, right? High, lower high, lower high. So lower high so far. Low, lower low. Downtrend by definition since the top back here in August. We don't know if it's over yet, or maybe it's going to try to start forming over the next couple of weeks. Give it some more patience, but $22 seems like the good pivot point. Ideally, if we can get back up 24, 25, put in a higher high, that would kind of negate the downtrend. That's what we all want. So just stand by for Chainlink. A couple more days probably. We'll see where we're headed. Keep an eye on Bitcoin. All right. Jasmine, go look at it for our Santa Claus of Wednesday. I'll try to pull it up so you can see it here. Get it up in the screen. There we go. All right. Jasmine, up 4.5% on the day. Let's do a peeked out, zoomed out version here. You can see as of this year, right, we have established a low in March, higher low, higher low. Okay, we have kind of a double retest of these highs here. So potentially we could be looking at some sort of ascending wedge here. Right, something loosely followed to this. Doesn't have to take this whole time. Obviously, we would hope it doesn't take till February. That's probably not going to bode well. But if we move up now and kind of do this triple retest up higher, then we could certainly break high. And our next zone here, and let's go out to the monthly. How about we just erase all this? Start over. Here's our monthly macro going back 3+ years here. Right, bear market, obviously, nuked down, rebuild, had a great 2024. February, March 2024 was going very well. We had a little bit of a topper candle there, right? Inverted hammer, new highs. Now we're back down. We need to flip that 21. I mean, there's the clear pivot spot, right? You want to get it going again. That's definitely it. Swing low, close. Swing high, close. 21-month EMA. 17.27 there. Get back above 2 cents and, blue skies. That's pretty obvious on that chart, right? Going at the weekly. Still pretty obvious here. Just get back above here. Get all the range high resistance on the weekly, right? It's maybe a little bit more of a zone versus a line. But the monthly is pretty well defined at that 1700 level. Take out 1819. And then we're, probably good to go here. Let's see what the fib extension would get us. So our next, rough target is at 20 cents. Can we still hit that, right? Well, we're 10x away, yeah? Let's see from our current prices. And that gets us almost 15x. Can we still get there? Doesn't quite get us back to all-time highs, but that, I think you're probably pretty happy if we hit that, right? So there's the fib extension at the 1618. Could we do that? Possibly, if we last until at least the end of the year. But even let's take like a here, let's look at our best move this cycle. Let's see what that would do. So probably this guy, right? I think we're all in agreement with that. Take a bars pattern. Let's go with that we're on the weekly. So let's pretend we have a couple months left. So that's not going to cut it, right? So we'd really have to be at range highs and do our best move ever. All within, depending on when the cycle is going to top here. But at the end of the year, right, we have 90 days. We're in Q4 now. So if we can get to cycle highs sometime in October, then I think obviously we still have time. Remember the 618's up here, right? So if we start even our best move from this point, that just gets us back to range highs at a nickel. So that's going to be a big resistance when we get to it. You can see all the way back here, even the bounce in the bear market, range highs in June, range highs about a year ago, maybe range highs again. We'll see. Depending on the timing, I think you'd probably in your best interest to take some profits here. It should be profits, right? I don't think, maybe, let's hope you didn't buy the high wick of 5,900 there. So there's kind of the case. If we're up here by, in the next 4 or 5 weeks, we can still have a chance. Otherwise, like if it takes us, all of, if we're just treading water in October and then we make a break in, say November, December, that level's got to be respected, I would think, right? Hopefully that helps you. Thanks, Santa. Aaron, good to see you. Got a lot of familiar names. Illuvium. Okay. And Ave next. If you want a specific exchange, let me know. Otherwise, I'll just pick one. That's probably a better one. Trying to move it up so you can see where we're at here. Okay, up 8% on the day. Down overall, right? This is not really a great looking coin from the start of the cycle. Typically, you don't want to see that. Being at a loss from the start of the bull run, that's not usually a good look. So let's even take it from there. And we're still on 64% in a bull run. Typically not what you want in a bull run. In a bear run, right? That looks pretty damn good. So it looks like our exit would have been in March, right? We're down plenty from that, 90%. I just because it's in a position of weakness, like this would be my exit zone. Maybe you bought a lot much higher. The odds would be you did. But depending on timing here, this is going to be a major zone. So I know this is probably still at a loss for you if you get up here, but better 35 than 13, right? So obviously weak. Your signal to get out was when you broke these lows here, and this was the exit pump. This was what any kind of money left in it was exiting, using to exit because you breached the lows back here. I know hindsight's always 20/20, but even so, like you were still in kind of a bearish setup here, right? That's pretty good bear flag, and the target was probably about that area. So yeah, that's played out now, but you're fighting from a position of weakness, being below. You've been all-time range lows for basically all of 2025. Yeah, you've had one bullish candle. I would suggest, just my opinion, but if you get another 40-50% pump, that you might want to consider exiting. There's a 2x pump in a week. Had to try to get something out of there. So if we do that again, like take note, especially if we're range high up to around $30. There'll probably be a lot of people looking to exit around in this zone. Now, if we go into 2026, could we overtake this? Perhaps. Then we'd want to kind of look at where are we going to hit this at? Now, I'm not a fan of diagonal trend lines, but if we get up in here again, November, December, again, anywhere around there, this circle with the timing, that would be my suggestion. Be what I would do if I was trapped in something like this. But yeah, this is why I color code this is probably why I don't track this as well. It's probably a red chart, and I probably try to delete it, because when you start to break this structure, no matter how good the fundamentals are, right? I'm a big fan on charts. If the coin is strong, the chart will be strong, right? If the fundamentals are strong, better show it to me in the price, right? Price is king. Price pays you or doesn't. And in this case, like, I probably deleted this back in about a year ago when it broke these lows, because you just went from, decent size strength, maybe hopefully triple bottoming, to bottom falling out. So sad to see. I know this was doing very good, last year, right? That was a damn good move in 2023. Had all, it was a 4x in 4 months. That's impressive. Not so much. You don't want to be down from the start of the bull run, especially like even you're 700 days into the bull run here and you're at a loss. All right. Ave. So green chart, last time we talked about it, Ave at the top here, up 4%, 287. Just trying to become a blue chart again. So if we can kind of overtake, I don't know, just get back above 350 or so, and I think we have the argument to make this blue. So blue would be the best. I think I have 10 coins that are blue out of the hundreds that I track. The top 10. Green is like, you could think of a green is like a B plus grade, A plus be blue. Orange is like a C, is kind of average. Red is typically not what you want to be in. Certainly you don't want all your portfolio in a red chart. These are just my opinions, right? But I've been charting these for 8 years now, and I have hundreds of hours in formal education in charting. So that would be my opinion based on that. And if you don't see them graded, they're either new requests, probably, or I've deleted them at once upon a time because I didn't like the chart so much. I think Alluvium fit that, if memory serves. But I say all the stuff as unbiased as possible. And I don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings. I'm just kind of call it how I see it, right? So that's how it goes. Okay, so range low still in on Ave. Back up to the 786 here, trying to fight the 21-week EMA. Let's zoom in here. All right, it's okay to breach the 21 EMA with one candle, but not two. Definitely not two. I'm not a line in Titanic. She can float with one hole breached, but not two, or maybe it's not three. Titanic, anybody seen Titanic? I don't know where I'm going with that. Okay, I was going to pull something up here. Stop talking about movies, bud. We're going to look at, maybe put the Gaussian channel up. You can see our range breach here of the Gaussian, but then we recovered very nicely. Again, test the 21 EMA. This is a little bit of a slip here. We've closed under the 21 last week with even a pretty big dip into the channel here at 250, but nice recovery so far. This week, I'd really like to see it close back above like the EMA 8 at 295. We could do that. I think it would shrug off any kind of trouble. For me, the line in the sand for Ave to get panicked is if we start to close under here. So if you close under, let's say 250, I think trouble could start here. Or I want to say, like, it's not likely to go down. When I say trouble, it doesn't always necessarily mean down. It could just mean it gets stuck where, if an alt season comes, it might drastically underperform. That's what I can mean by that. So not necessarily if we come under here, we're done and we're not going to go higher, but it could be like one of these grinds higher versus one of these higher, right? Does that make sense? So you don't want to be in altcoins that are just going to do that for the next three to 6 months. You want to be in altcoins that have a potential to do that. So when you start to lose structure, this becomes more of a reality than what we all want to be in is those coins. And obviously, Ave can do either. So it's very important to maintain structure if you can you know, if you can be Usain Bolt or I don't know, pizza delivery guy, they can be fast too, I guess. You get my drift, right? The analogies can't always be the best on live streams, right? Okay, so Aave still looking okay, but it's kind of at a pay attention point. You can see there 1618 is way the hell up there, 871. How about volume? How's volume looking? Tapering off. Doesn't really matter that much, right? We're still in a macro uptrend, pretty much the whole bull market, right? So versus Illuvium, last coin we looked at, and Aave, right? Start of the year, start of the bull run in 2023, we're up 5.5x, 450%. It's great. Being down 60%, not so great, right? So Illuvium's equivalent. This would be like Aave being at $20 right now. That should shock you, right? Illuvium price now is the equivalent of Aave being at $20. All right. Hopefully that should be pretty impactful. Okay. Let's see what else we got. Aster doesn't sound familiar, but we'll check it out. Don't have a lot of history here, huh? So not going to be able to do analysis if we don't have some history, right? Yeah, this is just shot in the dark. More of a gamble, right? Can't do any kind of TA on something that has no data. Kind of need that. Now maybe we have a different exchange. I could try another one. Hard to believe Bybit doesn't have that. How about CoinX? Okay, we got a little bit more here. That's a pretty damn good move. We'll try one more. I think I saw KuCoin on there. They usually have a lot of data. Not this time. All right, this is the most I got. If you got any more, all right, let me know. Okay, we're up 3% on the day. Aster, obviously doing a whole range highs. You could come just because you went up this quick, you can go down that quick. If you break structure, that would be the low right here, 139. That would also take out your 21-week EMA. So that would be your warning for your pivot. If you want to look at like a fib retrace here, like assuming that would be a local top, you'd want to be identifying these for potential places to buy. So if we do in fact come down here, maybe we have an open order around like 108. Maybe you can grab it on a wick. Otherwise, I mean, there's not obviously not a whole lot of support structure being built up here. So that might be a good reference point if we start to move down again, or like we just kind of hold up here and go again. Some of these rocket ships like this can continue. That's pretty solid, 3,000%. In a week, I think you hopefully made some money off of that, even if you got in late. Like you're still up pretty big. So if you're up big, if you're up, multiples 2-3x, at least consider taking your initial investment out, and then you can kind of play with house money a little bit, right? Or try something else with what you put into it. Take the profits out. I don't know. But you never really want to round trip these, right? And sometimes they can do that, especially with those kind of moves. So if you're up, don't be greedy. Less greedy. Okay, Eagle. Let's do Eagle. It's a good one. Maybe not a good one, but we've looked at it many times. Red chart last time. Let's see what it looks like now. Well, your 200's going down. Not looking great, right? All epic downtrend. Looks similar to Illuvium, right? These are not the ones you want to be in. January. I know it's easy to say that when you're not in them, but I'm just going to see from the first week. we're still down roughly 60%. So very similar to Illuvium, right? You've made losses in a bull market. That's no good, right? You can't math with subtraction. You can't add with subtraction, as women say. That this is a position of weakness. And did we have any signs of that? Well, to start out the bull run, you got off for a damn rough start, didn't you? Well, yes, you got a decent start, but then, you know, the first year in, down 30% when everything else was doing good, right? So we came up, all right, great, but look at where we reversed. Range lows from last bull run, range highs in the bear market, range highs in the bull market. You don't want to be matching bear market highs with bull market highs, but that's exactly what we've done here. I think Eagle is a prime example of great fundamentals and poor chart, right? It's got all the markings of something spectacular, but was unable to show that in price. So this is why I disregard fundamentals on crypto. Stock market, sure. Crypto, you got to show me in the chart. If it's not paying you and it's not a strong chart, it's has a potential to lose you money in a bull run. As batshit crazy as that is, here it is. So I don't have warm and fuzzies for this one. Best case, are we going to get up here again? Maybe. Are you going to run into resistance at the 100? Maybe. Maybe go a little bit above it. But to me, it's more improbable that you're going to overtake that. You think you're going to do a 5x in the next 90 days? Based on what? The downtrend from the past 4 years? Doesn't look promising. So if you're looking to, where can I bail at? Well, you have a couple spots here. This would be like your first one, 22 to 24, something in that area. If you get a pump in there, I'd take something out there. And what if you stay down here until December? What if you only have one pump here? Something like this again, 80%, right? You could 2x and still be trapped in this resistance zone. And from a position of weakness, that might be wishful thinking even. So any kind of move like this, in my opinion, based on this chart as well, like you've got to start taking something out. Even if you bought, I mean, Lord Jesus, some people bought up here, right? We're down just a bit, folks, right? Negative ski slopes. Watch the charts. Right? This when it takes this out in a bear market, not a big deal. When it's still going down in a bull market, that's a big deal. You're going the wrong direction. All right, not a whole lot to say off of this one. This one's rough. Apologies if you got in this one. It's you can't fall for the narratives on, you know, fundamentals. Oh, it's got strong fundamentals. Here's what that looks like in some cases. Hey, Mitch. All right, let's all right, I talked on Bitcoin towards the beginning of the video. 117, if we break 17, this is where the bulls have got to show up if they're gonna show up, or the bears risk taking over here. I wouldn't read too much into this yet. For Bitcoin, we're going to look at Bitcoin. They asked, someone asked, how likely do you see that 118K we just had to be the lower high on a macro level and we go down from here on Bitcoin? So I wouldn't judge anything yet, right? I mean, I think Bitcoin's doing fairly well. In the past 3 days, it's up $9,000. I don't think I'd be calling for a top on that. We want to look for some kind of topping candle, but if you look at like the weekly chart here, I mean, it's at the clear pivot, right? Low close, high wick, high close. That's fine. This is perfectly fine and what we need to do. After dipping on the 21 week and holding for, you know, 3 times out of the last 5 weeks, I think we got to give Bitcoin the benefit of the doubt here and not assume that there's a top in or anything like that. So let's watch for the close. But look how well defined this is even on the daily, right? It's even more well defined. It's with a line going back for 4 or 5 months here. So this is the point. How likely do I think this is the local top before we're going lower? I would, based on my experience, I would say almost no chance. I think this is a great strong sign of a reversal. We have a low, a higher low, a high. We're likely going to hit a higher high here sooner than later. But I could be wrong. And if I am, we'd want to see a big fight out of the bears tomorrow. Like for a controlling bar reversal, something like this. Right, this is what the bears need to do tomorrow. If you're going to hold your candle in that. If you have it open short, this is where you would short because you're wrong if we go higher now. So your risk reward ratio is off the chart. If you're thinking about shorting, you short at resistance always. You buy at support always. Support. This is where you would have bought. Why? Not because you knew it was going to bounce, but because you were wrong right under these wicks. It would have been a lower low. You're wrong right above these wicks because it's going to be a higher high. In all likelihood, right? That's kind of the how you increase your odds. So you're shorting here. Not because you think Bitcoin's going lower. It's because you're playing the odds. Shorting at resistance right there. Look at that. Resistance, resistance, short there. That would have played out pretty nice. Now, we didn't know that was support, so you would probably still have that open until you take out your previous high. So, yeah, you probably would have made a little bit, but not much there. Because you don't know when that low is going to be. So your stop loss would have, for your short, would have been right here, which, shit, you would have made... You might have made 2%. Not a big deal, right? So no, don't think that people that are shorting and longing are making stupid amounts of money just because they shorted a top. Right? That's kind of a harsh reality check for people that actually start to become professional traders. Is people that long and short think like, oh, they shorted the top, they wrote all that down and then took all that profit. No, most likely they shorted here and got out here. So if you can see the difference there. So for Bitcoin, this is the pivot point, right? We talked about this in our Patreon group a lot this morning. We talk about Bitcoin every day in Patreon and try to just kind of keep on top of things. So this is the pivot for the bears or the bulls right here, really. So be prepared. If we start to close up here, I would expect all-time highs quicker than not. If we reject here, depends on the candle, but we could easily hold this in the short-term frame and still be A-okay. This zone, this is the kind of the pivot low, range highs, range lows. This will be our new support zone around 114. Hopefully that helps you. Hey, Mitch, I saw your gold post this morning. That would be nice if that works. I meant to mention that. If we see, let me see if I can get your... Let me go find your chart here. I'm pulling it up, Mitch. All right, so let me see if I can get this out here. Give me a moment. All right, so if we have, I guess someone posted this on X this morning. I'm going to take a screenshot here. There we go. So what we have here is Bitcoin price in the candles overlaid with gold price in the gold. And with the offset, right? 40-day offset. So if this plays out, we could potentially see by the end of this year, really it's like, yeah, somewhere around mid-December, around 140K Bitcoin. It's been loosely tracking gold, right? Now you can always play with these numbers, right? Remember the global supply, the money supply, we were supposed to follow that. And then now maybe we follow this. You can always kind of find somebody that can play with things enough to pull a rabbit out of a hat, make it track. So I don't know how much merit is to this, but obviously we'd like to. It's been roughly following gold, right? So We have no reason to doubt it just yet. So in which case, that we might be here, if this is to play out, another couple of weeks before we start this ferocious uptrend. We'll see if that pans out, but that's kind of what we're looking at. But good thing you brought that up. So if we do that, you know, my theory for a year is that Bitcoin tops out at like 140, 150 before I'm convinced that a top is here. So yeah, if we get that, and the timing's in mid-December, I will probably be selling a high majority of what I have, market-wide. So we'll see how that plays out. Interesting. All right, Giga. All right, we got Giga at top. So Giga's memes you're holding for the end of the cycle. Are we at range lows for Giga? Of course. Have we sold off everything? Of course. Are we down in the dirt? Of course. Is anybody at a loss? Everyone. But with as low of market cap as you have with Giga, right? We're only at 100 million market cap. You could seriously do many X's at any given day, or especially any given week, just to get back to, you know, range highs back from earlier in the year. You're only 2x away. With a low market cap like this, if it just catches any kind of momentum, you could do that in a day or two. So the pivot point for Giga, and has been really since we lost the lows here back in February, is the 3 cent level. And look where we rejected at. Range lows, range highs, sell off again. Now we're back to a potential triple bottom. Now this is not a triple bottom until we take out the high close here of 27. But if that day occurs, when that day occurs, Giga will likely have the biggest move in history, I would guess. Well, you know, biggest move in history that you're seeing on your chart. Now, Giga's been around longer than what we have in our chart here, and it was making some monster moves before this. But I would expect some kind of move like this if we are, you know, lucky enough to flip that level. Now, we might have a heads up of Giga gaining some major traction if you see the level before that I'm going to mention. Well, look where it's rejected at. How about the yellow 21 EMA? Rejection. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 weeks out of like 12. It's almost 8 out of 12 weeks rejected right at the 21-week EMA. So right there. How about if we overtake that? As of this week, it's right there. And as we see now, we kind of see like, okay, we have a little bit of a cluster here of kind of low support, breached. Okay, now this is going to be probably pretty decent resistance at 17, 21 week, swing lows. That would be a big stair step to climb us out of the abyss of hell here. Giga Chad has taken a break, fallen asleep, and is not lifting. Giga Chad starts going back to the gym here. Giga Chad back to Giga here, and melt faces above there. Will that all play out? Who knows? Does it have the possibility and the potential? Of course. Now, if it had a $20 billion market cap, that's going to be rough to do. But a $100 million market cap? Remember, Trump coin added $7 billion overnight. Shiba Inu did, you know, $40 billion market cap. Doge did $90 billion market cap. XRP added $40 billion in a month. So to say we can't just go to 1 billion, 1 billion is back to range highs. Not even. This is 800 million. Just showing you that the per market cap things can get stupid very quickly. Giga hasn't really had a Giga move, except for down. Just stop going to the gym, drop the weight on his toe. All right, we'll get back, but there's your pivot points. 17, 21 EMA, range high 3 cents, blast off. All right. Coins Kid, me and Coins Kid been talking back and forth for 6, 7 years maybe. It's been a while. Since at least 2020. I like him. Let's go look at the meme. It probably doesn't have much much history, right? No history and a meme. Like, it's nothing we can do there. Have a little bit. Structure wise, doing all right. It's just kind of at high base, I would call that. High base support, right? So we kind of want to hold there. 21. If we could kind of hold this, we could maybe see another, 2x week. That's a pretty nice week. 2x. Kind of another one right there, right? This is a pretty big move. If we could hold this, I could see it kind of blasting off a little bit. But memes in general are going to be the last to move, right? It's like, I don't want to say it's out of desperation, but that's kind of exactly what happens. People just trying to squeeze every drop out of profit, and so that's tends to be why they have been last to move. And then the lower market cap memes can do ungodly, stupid moves, right? That's what they've done historically. That's not going to change. The only thing that would change is if memes just fall apart altogether. But since greed is going nowhere in American society or global society, I would say they'll probably always be around based on that alone. So what do I think of it? No opinion. It looks okay. Looks better than some memes. But, that's the weekly. The daily, it's doing what it needs to do. There's the 200-day. It needs to obviously get back above there. And anytime you're below the 200-day, you're fighting from a position of weakness. So, good one to track. I'll probably add that to my meme list. I haven't even heard about it. So, all right. Yeah, there is a lot of volume on Bitcoin today. Let's just point that out, not that you brought that up. Oh, we're at 117.4 now. We're back up a little bit. Let's look at the volume here. So look at this cluster. Look how much buy volume there is here. This is way different than this move. Look at that. This is, in my opinion, this is a subtle sign that this is a legit move out of Bitcoin and it's not to be faded. But we have to give respect to this 117 level. We need to flip this to support, or at least hold it as range highs, somewhere between 114 and 117. We don't want to go back under here. If we go back under 113, especially, that could be a trap. This could be all a trap, but it doesn't seem like it based on the volume. This looks, I get a pretty good feeling about this. And, we've been talking about probably good things coming since, Monday. We're lifting up here. I didn't get the feeling that we're going to sell off, and we're actually continuing higher. So I still don't get that feeling, right? I don't think this is a fake out. I think this is something bigger. And I think whether or not we blast to new all-time highs in the next week or two, probably not. But it's definitely written here, right? There's a lot of volume and a lot of great volume, and exactly what you want to see lifting into kind of local highs here, especially really a pivot level we've been in since July. All right, ADA. All right, see ya, No Name. Have a good night. We'll see you on the next one. All right, ADA and Sol, and that'll probably be it. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Didn't do that either. Move that down. Putting it back down here. All right, so ADA's up about 5% on the day, 84 cents. Daily chart looking good. Look where we last bounced, right under the 200 EMA, the pink line. What we did this time. What we did last time. We hit right at the 21 off the bounce, consolidated for just a bit, and then proceeded on. So far, it's pretty damn good rhyme to me. If we zoom out here, it might look a little fuzzy to you, but that's just because we got the Fibonacci on. So we're kind of battling right at the 0.5 fib, which, if you look at any kind of Fibonacci, like 0.5 is tends to be where you start to gain traction, if you can flip that. Range lows here, fighting that. Range highs, right? We hit the 618, bounce back down a little bit. 382, 200 week, 200 week, 200 week. Hold. Nice little W pattern picking up here, holding the 21 week. I would give this higher probability than not of going higher first. So the next target, where do you think? Range highs, the 618, $1.15, probably. Based on this setup, it looks pretty good. Now, if you break this, the 786 isn't really a big level, but I mean, obviously you want to note that, but you could be looking at all-time highs here, right? These kind of moves can come once you're in a position of strength, which you're above all moving averages. You're in an uptrend. Everything looks pretty good here. So for ADA, we're up, just over 3x from the start of the run, which is better than down 60%, right? Do I give this high probability of doing stupid numbers this time? Is it going to do 2021 again? Probably not. If it does its best move yet, I mean, look at the volume there. So let's take a bars pattern off of that. That would be what, 4 or 5 weeks of greatness if we started here. Or does that get us back to all-time highs, perhaps? I think you've got to take some off the table at all-time highs, or anytime you're up at range highs above the 786. We get from $2 to $3. That seems like a good spot. Depending on the timing. Again, if it's mid-December and we're at $3, like don't be ridiculous. Right? Pay yourself. Buy yourself some new shoes for Christmas. Or maybe a new Ferrari, depending on when you bought ADA at. But don't sit on this and round trip this again. For all those people calling for ADA insanity prices, based on what? What's happened this cycle that ADA's screaming $50? I've seen ADA to 100 or some kind of stupid thing. $10? Why? No. $3 is my best guess. And that's pretty generous on the bulls here. You're going to have to see some kind of serious wake-up call and something better than you've seen all cycle. We'd have to have a great alt season. Everyone would have to catch on fire with, ADA would have to be spreading like wildfire on X, Reddit. Your grandma would have to be talking about it. Then you might see a breach of highs momentarily, but don't be ridiculous in thinking that this is going to go to some stupid high market cap when it hasn't done anything spectacular all run, right? Now, some of those coins that did spectacular in 2023, like let's say like Render, Injective, those could come alive again, right? Those did thousands of percents during that time. ADA did like a 2x, right? 2-3x. You're not going to just randomly shoot a 10x in the last 3 months for no reason. The 2021 vibes are never going to return again. So here's a reality check for you if you're all in ADA. Based on one random internet guy, YouTuber. If you could tell my feelings on ADA. All right, Solana. All right, Solana looks good. Solana is actually one of the blue charts. One of the top 10 strongest charts out of the hundreds that I track. Not really up for debate here. I mean, how many coins are at range highs or all-time highs here? Right, we're there. How high do I think we're going? Well, I've seen some stupid speculation on this too. I don't think it's going nearly as high as that. Even if you look at the 1618 here, I think that's a little bit of a stretch at this point. I would guess somewhere between 400 to 500. I mean, back in 2023, I think I was making a Solana video, said we're probably going to be around 500 to 600. That was back here, right? When people were calling for like $2,000 or $3,000 Solanas. Still pretty good target to me. That's also assuming we last at least until 2020, at least late December. Here's how much time we have. We still have the time, and the structure is there. We have the recipe to do it. I would say if we can be above 250, 260, sometime in October, we have a great chance of getting closer to this than this, right? But somewhere in here, 450, 500. Again, don't be too greedy. Pay yourself early if you start seeing these kind of moves that are like this move again. Like, oh, I'm up 25% this week. I'm up another 20%. I'm up another 20%, 30%, 40%. Like, don't be silly. 60% candles from here to the end of the year you want to be taking profits on. That's what I would do. But that's where we're at. Decent volume here. Not really see how the Bollinger Bands look. Not really set up for anything spectacular there. We're back to green in the Gaussian channel, above the Gaussian channel, above all moving averages. Right, this is green light. We got all these things to go. We're at range highs, above the Gaussian channel on the weekly, above all moving averages on the weekly. We have the fuel. We're just waiting for Bitcoin to decide what it's doing, settle down, get some alts. Once some alts start brewing, I would expect a pretty nice pop out of Solana here. All right, that's kind of where I'm at. I said I would end on Solana, so I'm going to end it there for this time. Did pretty decent chat for being this time of day, so maybe we'll try to do these a little bit more regularly. Maybe we can do them Wednesdays for roughly an hour or something like that. We'll see how that goes. This has been pretty decent success. 120 people have popped in. All right. I did Chainlink earlier in the video. I did Bitcoin early. All right, Steve. See you soon. Thanks so much for coming here. If you want more help, educational, speaking in fragments, check out our Patreon. You can get access to our silver group. I'm in there every day. Requests all the time. A little bit more personable. And that's what I asked for. Help you out. All right. Peace out, chat. I can actually say chat because we have a chat. All right. Chat out. Yeah, post the link to subscribe. Okay. For what? For YouTube? Just hit subscribe. Isn't it on your screen? Patreon? Yeah, patreon.com/5daycrypto. I'll just type it here. I think that's it. If it's not, you can go to Patreon and search for me. I'll be right there. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Appreciate you.